A primary school teacher has been found guilty of assaulting his 8-year-old daughter after smacking her in a dentist waiting room. A Scottish court had heard that the man, who cannot be named, hit the girl with great force for refusing to have a tooth removed. The Crown Prosecution Service says it may be the first time that a parent has been prosecuted for smacking a child. In this report from our Scotland correspondent, Andrew Castle, the voice of the girl's father has been disguised.
The incident which led to the father's conviction happened at a health centre in Motherwell on Christmas Eve last year. When his 8-year-old daughter, who'd been suffering toothache, refused to have the tooth out, he put her across his knee, pulled down her trousers and smacked her on the bare buttocks. In court, his defence lawyer stressed the father, a teacher, had snapped under considerable pressure, but witnesses said he'd used what they considered to be extreme force. The sheriff agreed, saying that he'd gone beyond what he considered to be reasonable chastisement, and the father, who can't be identified, said he bitterly regretted his conduct.
I confess from the word go that I did smack my daughter's bottom, and I go along with the judge's decision. However, this has many implications. Many parents, many teachers are looking over their shoulders in fear of litigation. However, my greatest consolation is my wife, my lovely children. My daughter and I are very happy.
The father said he'd been desperate to end days of suffering from the toothache.
She cried on my pillow for 2 days. Had I gone to the pub and let my daughter suffer all through Christmas, I wouldn't be here.
The father was convicted under the Children and Young Persons Scotland Act of 1937, which outlaws unnecessary suffering. But charities say there's still confusion.
I mean, the law in relation to the physical punishment of children is unclear at the moment and confusing, and we've been arguing for a while that it's important that the law is tightened up to make it clear for parents exactly what does constitute an offence and not.
The sheriff said that every parent had a right to use reasonable force to discipline or punish a child, but he gave a warning that in these kind of cases they would be judged not by the extent of the anger they felt, but by the extent of their actions on the child. Andrew Castle, BBC News, Hamilton Sheriff Court.
The father in this case said afterwards that many parents and teachers will now be looking over their shoulders. So what is the law on smacking? Currently, the law in the United Kingdom says that a parent may inflict moderate and reasonable corporate punishment. John Errington is from Save the Children. The father's right, isn't he, that parents and teachers are now going to be looking over their shoulders in fear?
I don't think so. We're working with parents and with children in the United Kingdom, and we detect a major shift in public opinion. I think people are very keen to eradicate violence against children now.
So although United Kingdom law says that moderate and reasonable corporate punishment can be administered, people still seem to be very confused about what the law is.
I think so. The British government's been lost the case at the European Human Rights Court, and we are going to have to revise the law to outlaw smacking of children.
But if parents are increasingly made to feel that they can't discipline their children by smacking them, what alternatives are there?
Well, there are plenty of alternatives, Anna. We've coincidentally brought a booklet out today for parents, which is a guide about positive parenting for children. And it's possible to discipline your children without using any physical violence at all. The key to it is internal controls and teaching children how to reason their way through situations and to control their own behaviour ultimately. But it's an educative process.
John Errington, thank you very much indeed. The right of thousands of people in England 3 times will lose benefit. Our correspondent Steve Evans is at a centre for the homeless and jobless in South London. Steve.
I am, Anna. This is what's known as a foyer. In this room, young people come to learn how to do things like write out CVs, that kind of thing. But around this room, there's in effect a block of flats. 80 rooms where people who would otherwise be homeless can actually live as they search for work. Now, this morning I talked to one of those people.
Ahmed El Asawi is 23. He's been on the dole more or less for 5 years. Through the New Deal, he's doing some work in a charity shop. He's lived on the streets, but now has a room in the hostel. He has dyslexia, and he thinks being told that he'd lose benefit after 3 job offers is unfair pressure.
If they stop your benefit for the 6 months, what they're talking about, then it would be impossible to live, for one. Like, I'd be without money. I could end up losing my room. I could end up back in the streets, which I don't want that to happen. And I've come this far, and it would be a very big knockback for me. So,
But if you're offered a job, shouldn't you take it?
yeah, if you're offered a job, you should take it, but at the same time, they should give you a choice. They should say to you, okay, here's a job. Do you want to go for an interview? Do you want this job? Not just force you into it.
Now, I've got with me here at this foyer Victor Adibawali, who runs the Centrepoint charity. Victor, what can be wrong with this? Surely if people don't take jobs, they should get their benefit cut.
Well, what's wrong with it is that many of the young people that Centrepoint sees have gone through terrible traumas. They've been made homeless, they've been thrown out of their homes, many have suffered abuse. People like the young man that you've just talked to have worked very hard to get to the point where they're ready to take careers and jobs. And there's a danger that the rug's going to be pulled up from under their feet just at the point when they need most encouragement.
Sure, but the government says there is a hard core of people who basically need a prod to get off their backsides and find a job, and
Look,
that must be true.
Nobody's arguing that those that are abusing the system shouldn't be dealt with. What we're talking about here are young people who actually are not abusing the system. 3,000 of the young people that we see, they want to get jobs, they want to work. I think the idea of 3 strikes that you're out will actually discourage those young people and will actually put a fear over them when we should actually be encouraging them to stay in New Deal and to stay in careers and get jobs.
Thank you very much indeed. So there you have it. Clearly it's a radical measure. There are issues raised by it. Politically acceptable, well, there may be some unease from Labour's own people.
Thank you, Steve. There's been a fresh boost for British films with the news that a single body is being set up to promote